This is the event hosted by CSWIR, Center for Social Work, Innovation and Research at University of Sussex. So the center is pretty much focusing on the promoting and collaborating colleagues in terms of academic, practitioners, service users, and carers who are interested in social work research, practice, and education. So today we are very delighted to have Sushri to be with us, and she's going to present her completed work as regard to children adoptions practice in India. So before Sushri starts, Sushri have a question, just a prompt question that she would like the group to give feedback and to discuss. So the questions to the group is, given the social culture complexity and the policy and the practice dynamics in which the adopted family function in India, how could the research finding be taken forward? So Sushri would like everyone's contribution to support her to take forward her completed research work. We will have a discussion about this after her presentation. So now I'm warmly welcome Sushri that she will present her work. Hi, Sushri.
Hi, Alicia. Thank you so very much. Thank you for this opportunity for presenting my work. And let me just introduce myself briefly. And myself, Sushri Sangita Puhan. I am an honorary research fellow at the University of Sussex School of Education and Social Work. And the work I am presenting today is part of my PhD, which I just completed in September 2021, quite recent and fresh. And so I'm just sharing this with you. And in this presentation, I would be focusing on the findings of the research and while providing a very brief background of the participants and approach I employed to generate the kind of narrative and stories about adoptive family lives in India. So, okay, I'd like to share my screen now. Okay, so here it goes. So this is basically, this is named as Illuminating Adoptive Family Practices. And it is a narrative research. It is about the stories about stories of adoptive family lives in India from the perspective of young adult adopted people and adoptive parents. So the aim of this this particular seminar, the presentation, is to provide insight into the lived experiences and everyday practices of adoptive family lives in contemporary India, because it's like in the contemporary India, the policy and practice is continuously evolving. And adoption is a close practice in India, where neither adoptive family or adopted people know about their birth family background, nor the birth family get to know about adopted child and adoptive family. So it is a close practice, but it is a continuously evolving practice. And it is a legal practice in India, but the peculiarity is that there are various laws in India that govern adoption. So there are religious laws and there are secular laws. So my work is focused more on the secular law, which enacted in 2000 and then continuously evolving, and that new law came into force in 2015. So it's basically giving the insight within the dynamic, the changing dynamics, sociocultural, complexities, how adoptive family lives are being practiced by the people. And it is for the very first time, the voices of young adult adopted people have been, it's shared. They have come forward and shared their experiences. So who have chosen me to listen to their stories? This is the process where I've generated the stories. It is the people, those who have chosen me to listen to their stories rather than I approach them to tell me your stories. So that is, this way it is slightly different. So altogether, there are 17 participants in a combination of young adult adopted people, adoptive parents, and a few social workers. So it was not designed in that way in the beginning, but as I'll explain the thing, so it gives a kind of, although it was first planned to get the views and voices of adopted people, but given that confidentiality of the practice in the country, I later opened this, whosoever would like to share their stories and experience, that they're welcome to do so. So the young adult adopted people are in the age group 18 to 24 years, and the parents are basically heterosexual married couple, and there is one unmarried mother family, and out of those parents also there are two adopted parents, those who were adopted as as children. So, and mostly it's very women dominated voices there. Even if in parents there are more mothers have spoken about the experience, and in adopted people's perspective there are the three young adult adopted people, they are women. And in social workers, there are four social workers whose experience varies between 8 to 30 years of experiences, and three are a woman and one male. And this participant, particularly the adoptive family participant, they are from upper middle class background, urban residents, professionals, and they come from three different regions of 5 states, but three different regions: southern, eastern, and western region of India. And it is basically, if you see, these are the people perhaps at this moment talking about adoption in India. So this upper middle class urban residents, and they come from four different religions. Although religion was not a part of my sample selection, but it emerged during that collection of stories and analysis process. And the stories are collected in three different languages, mostly English, but then the original and national language, Hindi and Odia. So I employed a narrative inquiry approach, within that the life story interview approach, to generate those stories. And this approach gave me the space and scope to explore the complexities and the nuances of doing adoptive family lives in evolving social, legal, and cultural context. It is the way people, it is the way people wanted me to know them as an individual and as an adoptive people, adoptive family. The key significant, episodes or happenings or mishappenings, whatever they have experienced in their life, what they want to highlight. So, and within that, the challenges as adoptive and adoptive parents and professionals they face while doing in this process, and how do they navigate the challenges. And after that, there are certain messages for the policy and practice and services, and few reflections. So my presentation will cover bits of all these elements. So coming to the experiences of, the findings of this study, sorry. So it is basically, what are the experience of doing and practicing adoptive family lives? How do people do that? The findings are divided into 4 broad categories. So there is a diversity in the family practice, adoptive family practices. It is not a very rigid structured way of doing it. There is different people do it in different ways, and the diversity arises in response to the challenges that adoptive families face in their everyday life, while creating a legitimate version of kinship. And the second thing is that it is a hard work. Doing adoptive family in India is a hard work in terms of the mentally and emotionally taxing and procedurally adjusting, and which cannot be successfully achieved through following a structured template or structured format. So in that way, it is hard work. And it is a continuous process to perform family. As we know that performing family, doing any other family is a dynamic process, but still adoptive family has some additional elements. So doing adoptive family, that is a particular pressure on adoptive families and the people, or those who are part of it, to perform family in a particular way, the way they to gain social acceptance. So it is a continuous process. It doesn't happen. It starts from the very beginning when they decide to get to do adoption, and then it continues throughout the life. And the fourth category of the finding is there is a contradiction narrative. That is the narrative, that are contradictory narratives between policy, how policy frame adoptive family, and how practice talk about it, how people practice adoptive family lives. There is a significant contradiction about it, and they don't talk to each other. So it is very interesting to see who authors the adoptive families. And in that way, the finding shows that the policy plays a very strategic role how people should do adoptive family, and that doesn't speak to the practice narrative. So what I'll do, I'll go through how diverse it is, what do I mean by a hard work, everything, as I process through the presentation, you'll get to know more about it. So in the hard work, it is basically, it starts from the very beginning when people decide about doing adoptive family. So the choice of adoption and the family dynamics, it's not always that, even if these families I speak to, they are nuclear family, they're very independent in that decision. But when it comes to formation of family through adoption, it is really not that independent. It is they do need a kind of consent and permission, or they want the people to be on the board, particularly the extended family, the parents from both sides. They want people to be part of this process. The choice of adoption and family dynamics it starts from when the decision is taken. So for an example, one of the adoptive mother who shared that me and my husband decided that what we want to do, they are already decided. But obviously, we care a lot about what our parents think and feel. And we are very attached to our parents. I'm very attached to my parent. He is very attached to his mother. And my mother-in-law had been staying with us for many years. Since we got married, she was with us. So it mattered to us a lot how she will take it. So it is basically an adoptive mother is sharing about how their decision is, even if they have taken all the decision to adopt, but they care a lot about how the parents will take this formation of family through adoption will get their their consent, or to getting their consent and their permission, and whether they will be agree with that decision. So it also shows a kind of collective nature of Indian family system. It is not always like people do whatever they want to. They have to, particularly in the process of formation of family, they have to take the other people on board. So this is this process is quite complicated, or a bit more taxing for a person, for a mother or a father who was single. So this is an account of a single mother who wanted to adopt, but she spoke to her parents. She said, I spoke to my parents not to get the permission, but I thought it is important to get them on board before I proceed. So initially, her parents were hesitant because, as she narrated, that's because they come from another era, not this. So they probably didn't know whether it would work. So it is important to get people on board and that the child is accepted. So that the dynamics here is the parents that want, whether their acceptance as a parent, it is somehow it says that it is confirmed they are accepted as a parent, but whether the child would be accepted in the family or not, that is they are very much concerned about that. And for that, they want their parents to be, or the immediate family members to be part of this process. So that hard work starts from there. So they're confident at the very, they're confident and unsure at the very same time. And it's both of the parents, they said that we have decided that we want to do that. So that there is a sense of anxiety and discomfort around the views of the family members, how they will take it. And despite of that decision that we want to adopt a child, the parents want to adopt a child. And the second part is comes like, that is a parallel narrative. That's a very interesting one. So the parallel narrative goes like this. Uh, it is people talk about adoption in front of the parents and the child in a different way, and how do they do behind the scene. That is a narrative goes behind the scene. So it is an account of an adopted young adult adopted woman who said that I had a very smooth childhood, but there were a couple of things that happened, and this is also because I don't look like my parents. So my grandfather and grandmother always adored me, always. But I was a troublemaker. I used to break things. Once my grandfather called me Shudra, like he was talking to my grandmom in kitchen, and then I overheard them. And I went to my mom and asked, what is Shudra? She explained to me. Then I was upset. I said, my grandfather doesn't like me. That stayed in my mind, that my grandfather doesn't like me. And that time I didn't know I was adopted or anything. So this is an account of an adopted young person who didn't know that when she was around 4 or 5 years old that she was adopted. But the grandfather called her Shudra. Shudra is particularly in Indian caste system, that is the people, those who are in the lowest part of the caste ladder, they are identified and they're named as Shudra, and they are like somebody indicating somebody is Shudra is very derogatory remark. So this child is feels that I am very adored by my grandparents, but at the same time she overheard in the kitchen when her grandparents were in talking with each other that the grandfather addressed her as Shudra. So and when she understood the meaning of Shudra, which has a very cultural connotation of caste and class, she felt that even if my grandparents showed me affection in front, but they don't love me. So that is a parallel narrative. It travels in the adoptive family where the adopted child is not always not fully part of the adoptive family. And also there is discomfort in the sense people are not very sure about whether to, or how to behave, how to interact, how to show that affection or not with the when interacting with the adoptive family. So there is a mother who shared that when she brought her daughter home, she could feel, it is not that they didn't show, she could feel that some of her relatives are holding back. And according to her, that they didn't do anything, they didn't say anything, but because I know them for last 30 years, so I know they are holding back, and they're not that warm as they would have been if I had a biological child. So there is a discomfort with its internal struggle the other feels, but mother cannot express. And she said that they have not expressed very openly, but I could feel that they are not the feelings and that affection which comes, which is not very warm towards my adopted child. And this discomfort is also, it's not only caste, also caste, class, and it is also linked with the kind of race. So another account says that when that mother, who is an adopted child, who was adopted and now is an adopted parent, when she shared that when she got our baby home, so when she's adopted child, everybody is so happy. But there was a lady who said that, why did you bring such a dark baby? And the mother said, I was very furious. So the neighbor, when they got that, when they brought the baby to home, everybody was very curious. The neighbors were very curious, and they came to see the baby. Everybody was happy. But there is the general understanding is that if you got the child through adoption, why didn't you get a fair-skinned baby? Why did you get such a dark baby? So this adoption discomfort it travels through caste, class, race, and through different elements of which is quite cultural and which quite social connotation to it. And there is also a question of legitimacy. It is quite prominent across all the people's narratives, and this is a narrative of another adopted person who said that the adopted woman who shared that she was addressed as Shudra, and when she was addressed to Shudra, she was at the time like 4 years, 5 years old. But it is something, it doesn't stop over there. So when she was sharing this experience of when we are interacting, so that was something by the time she was around 24 years old. So she brought an experience of her where she was told that she was adopted from a place where the people, the women are knocked up. So she said that once my grandmother told me that I was from Silver Park. My grandmother is really old and I'm very fond of her. She's very fond of me too. So she was talking to me, and it just happened to tell me that the hospital you are adopted from, is only for the woman who knocked up. She used the term knocked up, my grandmother. That just hit me in my face. I was like, what? Even though it doesn't matter, I don't care honestly, but it hit me very, say to my face. This was just a few months back, around 6-7 months back. So this is a narrative which shows that this kind of, this is, whether it is design or it is deliberate or it is just happened like that. But this kind of narrative, so this, she knows that her grandmother loves her, adores her, but still she's not quite well accepted in the family. So it travels in the family, adoptive family, throughout, whether the child is there, and it's quite abrupt. So the adopted child has to go through it, and always in a continuous process of discussion and mental calculation, how to take this kind of unexpected reaction of people, those who matter to them. So it is a continuous process, and that is why I just termed it. It's doing adoptive family is emotive. It is a hard work. It's mentally and emotionally taxing. And also there is a prejudicial perception. So prejudicial perception is that the adopted people feel that there is a particular image of adopted people framed in public, which is basically informed by the fictional stories like movies and television shows, and not from the real life experiences. So one of the adopted person, when she shared about her adoptive status, she's very vocal about her adoptive status. She shared one day out of the blue that to her colleagues that I'm adopted. This is said my colleagues' reaction is so abrupt. They say, no, it is something you are joking, you are lying, you should not say something like that, just like anything. So she said they were so terrified. It's not like that they are adopted, it's me who is telling them that I am adopted. So it's basically, it gives an understanding that people have a very image in their mind which is not informed by real life experiences and from different kind of fictional narratives which is available in public domain. So it's similar is that another adoptive account who says that adopted children is people's understanding is that they are the records and they don't enjoy their lives. So these are the it shows that it's a lack of real life experiences in public domain to inform their understanding, people's understanding of adoption. So that also creates a prejudicial perception of adoption and adoptive families. And it is quite interesting when it comes to the hard work and challenge, it is about the birth parents' perspective. As I said, adoption in India is a closed practice where neither adoptive parent and adopted person get to know about birth parents' perspective, neither the birth parent get to know about where the child is adopted. So when it comes to the birth parents, so there is a visible disturbance and visible discomfort I can see in the narrative, in the way they present that. So it is not a very comfortable topic to discuss about birth parents in adoptive family, and it is not that much also encouraged as the narratives and the accounts suggest. So one of the this is one only father who particularly participated in the research. So when his daughter asked about both of them, her father and mother, can I get to know about my birth parents? So she said that they said that one day she just asked very lightly, not very seriously. So that is it possible that I can get the birth parents information? We told her no, it's not possible. That's all. She's not so much serious about it. We are not very much into that to know her root or anything like that. It is not important. So it is the parent, or they are presenting the perspective of the child that the child once asked, but she asked very lightly, not very seriously, and we just told her that it's not possible, this information are not available, and she didn't turn up, and we don't think she is much serious about it. So this is what the parents the parents think about this. However, it is not always the same thing. That is one of the voice, mother's voice, adoptive mother's voice comes like, it was significant. It was different from rest of the parents. And the mother said that when her son was 8 years old, he came and he asked his adoptive mother, do you know my birth mother's name? Then she said, I don't know. Sorry, baby, I don't know. They don't give out that information to us. But if it is important for you, then we might find out at some point. Then the mother said, my child was very disappointed, but I assured him, when you turn 18 years, I will accompany you to get the information, which which is recently available in there is a change in the provision. So the research is recently available in Indian adoption system. So she assured her son that it is like, when you will turn 18 years, I'll accompany you. So the child was somewhere taken it. It's very surprising. So it is not always that birth parents' perspective is very challenging to discuss, but majority of the parents' accounts said that. So it is, and another also adoptive mother said that people are aware about that. Adopted people go for looking for the birth parents, but one adoptive mother, they said that my daughter asked me. I said, look, it doesn't. She asked me. I tell her, see, in American stories and movies it is possible, but India we don't know the reason why you are given up. So that is a kind of given that see, there might be some people looking for the birth parents who are the birth parents. They want to know the roots, but this is only happening in the fictional stories or in different other countries, but it is not it doesn't happen in India. So what will happen if the person may not even want to acknowledge that you are there, or you may be somewhere? So don't even go in that line. So one mother is the adoptive parent is when her daughter asked about birth parent, that was the kind of response they had. So it might be out of protection, it might be out of that, but it's something which is not very comfortable to talk about it. But one adopted child, the young person, who shared that it is not the case that when I spoke to adopted people, they had a kind of anxiety. They wanted to know about the root, and it is not the perspective what present parents portray. It is not aligned with what adopted people think about their birth parents. So one adopted person who said that sometimes I think, like, who are these people? What about if I see them in public? I don't even know them. They are my parents. And then my friend cracks me a joke that when someone I see looks like you, I'll tell you. I'm curious about it sometime. Like, suppose they call me and say, we want to meet you, but it's never going to happen in India. She's also confirmed that it's, there is a curiosity to know, but she knows that it's not going to happen in India. Never. But when you see adoption in abroad, there are options. Do you want to get photos of a child? Do you want any information? It's so wonderful. So see, it's in a process that adopted person, she's appreciating the openness in adoption, which happen to know from different sources that it happens in outside India and other countries. So if the information is available, so she says this process is really wonderful. So there is a different kinds of variation in the voices when you talk about adoptive birth parents. So this is all about the hard work people go through. And when you talk about how people navigate these challenges, the hard work, so they adopt different approaches to navigate through it in their everyday life. And that is one of the things is that it is, sorry. So there are different strategies they adopt. One is that of preventing telling. They shared it much before people get to know about from different sources. That is a way to avoid any discomfort created by others. There is a process they adopt like selective disclosure. It is not to share to everyone. It is a need to know approach, need to know basis disclosure. But there is certain point where people feel like that we have to disclose. So disclosure is a must in certain context. And there is also some strategy they use like resisting and challenging the kind of challenges they experience. So that is a resistance, and that you challenge the kind of the reaction of people about their adoptive family. And there is also they display in a positive lens. They use different approaches, different methodologies, different activities in their everyday life to present through the positive lens to gain social legitimation. So gaining social legitimation is something every day, everybody go through a process. They do everything to gain the social legitimation, which seems very, very important for adoptive families. So preventing telling is that something they plan it before that people, those who are close to them, they know about the adoptive family status from any other sources. So one of the parents, one of the parent mother, she said that when we decided to adopt a child, what we did that they formed a WhatsApp group. They formed a kind of very close WhatsApp group, and the kind of different calling, inviting people. Particularly, they marked a kind of event to inform the people. They said they really mattered to us. The people who mattered to us, we want them to share beforehand, before we bring our child to the family. So that is a preventing telling to obtain social acceptance. So that is also another way is like there is a single mother, because this is also one of the findings that doing adoptive family for a heterosexual married family couple is it's difficult, but for the single unmarried mother, it is even more difficult. When this mother shared her experience to getting acceptance, she said, I wanted everybody to get everybody on board because the child is accepted. She is very sure about her acceptance as a mother, but she was not sure about the acceptance of the child to the family. So here this discomfort stays with the child, not with the parents. So I took the pain of meeting my uncle, my cousin, informing them. A lot of them were concerned because they are much older, for whom hesitance is not just biases, but it comes with lack of awareness. So she somewhere acknowledged that, people are not aware about whether adoptive family will work or not. They're not aware about adoptive family practices. So it's not always like a bias, it is also the lack of information. So what she did, she took the pain to visit each and every family members around the city and informed before bringing the child home that I'm going to adopt. And they had a lot of questions, and she said, I managed to answer that question. So this is the kind of the strategy they adopt to before getting the child home. And that is another approach people adopt, like selective disclosure, which is a need to know approach. They don't share it to everyone. And there is an adopter who said that, she said, I scan through people. I'm very judgmental when I meet a person. And because people are, there are different kinds of people, and I first scan them whether people will accept me what I'm going to share, that I'm an adopted child. So it is not always disclosure to everybody. It's a need to know basis approach. Whomsoever they feel like it is, they could connect to, they could relate to, they just share with them. And there is another mother who was adopted, now an adoptive mother. She said that it's her narrative is quite, it gives the impression that as if adoption is a particular social group, people from particular social group, it is only meant for them. She said, I don't want everyone from milkman to vegetable vendor discussing about her adopted child, because they will discuss it from their perspective, and which is very narrow. It's none of their business. So anyone I feel I can relate to it, I can resonate with, with them, I share. So here this mother said that adoption is for the people. It's not for the people from who comes, that's like vegetable vendor or milkman. They come from a lower socioeconomic profile, and they said it's none of the business. So that means it is adopted. It gives a kind of understanding that adopted families, this in a way, it is an understanding that adoption is meant for people of different socio economic profile family, but it's not meant for the people, those who come from lower socioeconomic background, but which is not the reality, as the findings suggest. And yes, that is one strategy where disclosure is a must, and it comes when an adoptive mother, when who was an adopted child, who shared that when it comes to marriage, I felt like, it is something which is very important for me to disclose. So the disclosure is a must when you're talking about a marriage, is because it is a social institution where the family lineage, forms. So she said that one of the first thing I told my husband that I am adopted. Check with your mom whether she's okay with that or not. That is the first thing I told him. He said, my mom won't bother. I said, tell her I don't want her to know later. So she insisted. She said that this is something which is another social institution marriage. So I don't want your mother would know about my adoptive status later. So just let her know beforehand, before that negotiation happened or it confirmed. So he told her. Then she said, it's okay. How does it matter? But I am sure there are families where it would matter. I don't know tomorrow when my daughter wants to get married, whether in the families does it matter or not. So when it comes to marriage, so adoptive families, adoptive parents feel that there is a disclosure of adoptive status is a must. And there are also the approaches people will resist, people educate people, others, they challenge the kind of reaction of people who feel discomfort with their adoptive status. One of the mothers said that, I am very careful how people treated my children. If I felt anything odd in their behavior, I would immediately sort of pull back. So there is a resistance when for the mother, the child is the priority. Her adopted children are the priority. She said, if I feel I don't invest in build relationship, but I am very watchful or put more effort in watching the reaction of people and how they treat my children. So there is a resistance, there is a kind of watchful eyes. They're always vigilant how their adopted children are being treated. There is another mother who said that somebody asked her that, oh, she's an adopted child. She said, I had to sit down and explain to that lady that because she is in her little ecosystem, never have heard of people with adoption. So some people adopt that method as well, to educate others, to make them aware about adoption. So this is another way. And that is also another way of people speak out, people challenge, or people resist very strongly. There is an adoptive mother who was an adopted child. She said one day her daughter, her adopted daughter, disclosed her adopted status in the class, and because she was not informed the school teacher or principal that the child is adopted. The teacher called the mother. So the teacher said, the mother is saying, the teacher said she's confused after learning from my daughter that she's adopted. She called me and said, "You never told us." I said, "Why should I tell you? Does it make her different than rest of the class?" She said, no, it's not that. We should know. I said, "Why?" "So you should say that she's not reading because she's adopted. She's not doing well in mathematics because she's adopted." So the mother is really very rebellious. She doesn't want to, because perhaps it comes from her experience, because she is an adopted, she was an adopted child and now a mother. She said, this is the perception of people around has not changed, so I never felt the need to inform anyone. When the teacher asked that, you should have at least told us, the mother was very rebellious and very challenging, and she said, no, why should I tell you? My child was adopted. So there are different ways people deal with and negotiate and navigate the challenges that they experience in their everyday life.
Thank you, Sushri. Sushri, I think it's a very rich research he has done. So if you have one more message, key message, what would you like to share it with audience before we go into the discussion, please?
Yeah. So this is more or less, I've already shared all the dynamics, the cultural dynamics and the complexities of adoptive family lives practice in India. So, and given this sharing, I would like the audience to suggest how to take these findings forward. How can we improve and inform the practice and policy in which adoptive family lives function in the contemporary India? Yes, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sushri. So I hope it's give you some idea about family adoption in India, which is very rich, and for some aspects is similar in England, and for many aspects it's quite different too. It's not only about socioeconomically rich, but also culturally rich, as well as content some intergenerational elements embedded into the. Okay, thank you. I hope you got a little bit time to reflect on Sushri's presentations and can give her some feedback in terms of how to take the research forward based on your group discussion and your expertise. So if you want to voluntarily provide the feedback or suggestion, can you just unmute yourself, and if you like, you can turn on your camera so Sushri can see you. Thank you. Or you can post it in the chat box as well, because we can see it from there. So during the presentation, your presentation, Sushri, there are a few questions for you. So one is from Rebecca Webb. Rebecca Webb is our senior lecturer in School of Education and Social Work at the University of Sussex. She's also the Deputy Director of CSWIR, which is Centre for Innovation and Research in Childhood and Youth at Sussex University. So Rebecca said she will be really interested in the task class socio-economic rationale to the research. That this reflects the fact that the legal Western governmentality is recognized and taken up by middle/upper class group. How is a discourse constructed, produced by and for other caste class group? Sushri, would you like to respond to this, please?
Yes, yeah. So this is basically what Rebecca asked that. Okay, so it is a matter of, the adoption, what my research findings suggest, that it's a matter of, it's not a matter of only a particular class and class group, and that it is practiced by people of different classes. But when it comes to the policy and the practice, and the policy is really does not communicate the way people practice adoptive family lives. It does not take into the consideration of the class caste factors. So it's something very very rigid. When you talk about, when you check policy and practice, so it is quite the policy part, the governmental part is quite rigid, and it does not translate into practice the way people do it in the way, so it is if I have understood her question correctly, it is like, how is the discourse constructed, produced by the others. So this is the discourse which is produced at this moment are the people, those who are practicing and those who are open about their experience sharing. So discourse are constructed, the people, those are talking about it. But there are people from different class and caste also, they're practicing, but they are not talking about it. So it also depends who are the people contributing to the discourse, adoption discourse at this moment. And as my research suggests, the people from upper middle class background, they're the people at this moment, they find this environment not conducive. They are making an effort to create the discourse. You understand that? Yeah, is making an effort, but it is not that they are the only one who are practicing adoption, but the only one at this moment that talking about adoption. And that is how the discourse construction. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. We have more questions. It's your research certainly attract quite a bit of interest. So another question from Michael Taylor. So he would like to hear your presentation regards selective discourse from the viewpoint of the adoptive parent in relation to the adopted child, particularly in disclosing sensitive issues pertaining to the child's circumstance of adoption, like rape, in relation to the child's age. Thank you.
This is quite tricky. I have not found, come across any such disclosure of, if the child had any traumatized past in, so it is a selective disclosure. What I shared, it is about the child's adoptive status, because adoption itself is very confidential and a secret one. So it is, people share it when they feel there is a necessity to share. For an example, when there is a necessity to talk about adoptive status of the child in the school, because the child is adopted when she is around, the child is around 4 or 5 years old, so she might take time to get acquainted, adjusted the school. In that condition, parents, the adoptive parents share the status with the child to the school. So it is not mandated if the child is adopted very young age, and the child is very much very much adjusted with the family setup and social setup. In that situation, parents do not share that adoptive status. So it is. That's why I said it's a diverse practice. Whenever people feel the need to share, but there are also parents who share it's very openly with everyone whom they meet. That because sometimes it's very visible that the child does not look like parent. That is not non-resemblance with the parent. So they go upfront and they say our child doesn't look like us because he's adopted. So yes.
Thank you. Last but not least, can you just give a quick response as regard to what is the contradiction between policy and the practice, and what is the key tension here?
So this is, I would definitely like to talk about this. Is Louis' question, and Louis we discuss it at length later. But this is basically the adoption process at this moment. It's been it's changed procedural. It is very controlled now. It is moved to a centralized process where adoption is controlled by the centralized computerized system, where human interaction has been very, very limited. So parents do not get to do not get the scope to interact with the social workers or with anybody before, because all the processes are computerized and they're taken care by the centralized system, where the occasionally, perhaps only once, when the home study happens, the parents meet the social workers. After that, there is no structural format or platform where people interact with them. So past contradiction comes when people feel like that, those who have adopted from the old system and the new system. So the new system is very controlled and it is very authoritative. It does not have space for human connection. When we are talking about the adoption is human, building a family, that is all to the human relationship. When it is controlled and captured by the computerized systematic approach. So that is the contradiction. It does not, that is the first contradiction. Second contradiction, all the cultural complexity, social complexity, what I shared, and how parents and adopted people navigate the contradiction, So these are not part of the preparation process of adoptive family. So there is no structured preparation process, how adoptive families are formed. And third thing is that social work practitioner, they have a very limited role in this new system. They don't feel like, they feel like, our hands are tied, but we do certain things which we are not feel like doing, but we are instructed to do. The social worker's role has been limited. So that is how, because I couldn't share the social work perspective, but sometime definitely later. But yes, that is how the practice and policy narrative contradicts quite a lot.
Thank you very much, Sushri, for the wonderful and the very fruitful sessions. And I hope the audience will be have some beneficial learning and the knowledge exchange with Sushri. So this is a CSWIR event. CSWIR is a research center which is related to social work, research, education, and practice. We have an ongoing event through the center, and our next event is going to be presented by Louise Sims, who is the kinship care and the fostering consultant. She will present kinship care, bed weeks, and between. We also have, that is on 6th of December, UK time is 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We have another event on 10th of December, UK time, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. to include people around the globe. So that's why the event is taking place quite early in the UK time. It's going to be presented by our research fellow, Dr. Brenda. She will going to talk about the effectiveness and the suitability of self-isolation and the loneliness intervention for older people. Thank you very much to join the event, and I hope you will keep in touch with Sushri and to carry on with everybody's great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.